Stevens and I were just talking about radio station stuff. I mean, the transmitters that we're using, well, when was 9/11? That was 9/11/2001. Mm-hmm. That's when we put the KSVP transmitter in.
Okay.
The one that's on the air right now. That transmitter today looks just like it did when it showed up in a truck. We put that in like February, March of that year.
Okay. Then they do have a good shelf life.
Oh, yeah. They have a great shelf life. The ones that we have at the big tower were originally new in the 80s. And then about 5 years ago, they were completely refurbished. Top to bottom, all the updates done, some things modernized, stuff like that. So they're not the same as they were when they were first manufactured. They're remanufactured, if you will. As long as we can get parts and tubes, they'll sit out there and run for another 30 years.
Till whenever, huh?
Till whenever,
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, because they just sit there and they do one thing.
Cheaper that way.
Well, that's why they're a big investment when you buy them, because
they are going to last.
Most likely you're not going to be getting another one. It's not like cell phones, where they want you to get a new one every year. Lana and I actually sat down the other day because Apple in September is getting ready to come out with the next iPhone.
Oh, my gosh.
And the debate is it going to be the iPhone 13?
Are they going to skip that number and go directly to 14 because it's bad luck?
Right. Or are they going to call it the 12S? And I still have a 10S Max.
Okay.
So this is going to be a 4-year-old phone.
I thought y'all went to 11s or 12.
Lana has an 11.
Okay.
I have a 10S Max. She has an 11 Pro Max. So hers is fixing to be a 2-year-old phone. And we were talking the other day. We love our phones. They are fantastic. They work.
As long as there's nothing wrong, just chill.
I'm like, do I really want to run out and get a new? I love this phone.
This
phone is great.
Because the back of it doesn't have 3 little camera holes on it doesn't mean you need a new one.
That's right. I took a picture the other day. We took Tim to lunch, his last lunch with us before he went back to college. And I took it in portrait mode.
Oh, yeah.
So I took that picture in portrait mode with this camera with the 2 little lenses on the back. Tell me what's wrong with that picture.
Absolutely nothing. These things take phenomenal photography.
Yeah. I mean, this is a fantastic picture. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why do I want to go spend $1,500 on a new phone? This one here is...
Yeah, who would have ever thought we'd make payments on a telephone? Gee.
That's true. But but the technology, they try to get you to do it every single year, and...
Well, what's supposed to be special about the new one that's coming out? What new tricks is it supposed to do?
What I've read, the primary improvement they're telling us is improvements to the camera system.
Oh, okay.
They keep getting better and better, and and really there's a little bit of competition going on between Google and Apple on the camera system. Google, with their Pixel phones, have built the reputation, and it's a deserved reputation of being just fantastic camera systems. Some of the best phone cameras are on the Google Pixel phones.
Yeah.
And so Apple's saying, well, we have to be better than that. So there's things that the Apple cameras tend to do a little bit better than the Google Pixels. And there's things that the Pixel cameras do that they do better than everybody else,
and it's always
Apple,
going to be that way. It's just like vehicles. One's going to have more bells and whistles than the other one, and then there's the constant competition.
Yeah.
It's just, is the seat comfortable because you're the one that's got to sit there forever.
Well, exactly, yeah. And that's just it. And then there's things that Apple, because they have their ecosystem, that they do very, very well. And Google has done a tremendous job of developing very similar type things within the Google. If you use, the Google browsers and the Google email and the Gmail and all the Google suite of stuff.
Provide you with some sort of a little manual on. No, because it's just like if you ask somebody, how do you spell something? Mm-hmm. And they say, this was choice for my mother. How do you spell such and such? Well, look it up. If I knew how to look it up, I would know how to spell it.
Yeah,
well, the tricks on your phone, you don't know that you need to know something until you need it. But, they need to just give you some helpful hints on how to do a few little things.
Well, here's the thing.
And don't say there's YouTube videos. Yes, there are, but if you don't...
Well, that's what I do.
If you don't know, how do you look it up?
Yeah,
I'm saying,
no, you're exactly right. But Lana will ask me something because I'm supposedly the Apple genius in our house.
Yeah.
And so she'll ask me something, and if I don't know, I will go to YouTube, or I'll go and do a DuckDuckGo search, and it'll either take me to an Apple conversation, webpage that addresses it, or some other website that does that. But you're right; they don't have books for these things. But I don't know how it is. I don't know how it is with Samsung, but I know with Apple, when you buy a phone or whatever device, they flood you with emails and say, "Look, if you want to take a class, if you want resources, here's our online resources. Here's our classes you can take. Here's all these things that we have, resources that are available for you to learn how to best use your new device." So they try.
One of my contacts, it's my daughter. All of a sudden, it'll put that little bitty moon by her name. Well, I can't hear her text when it comes in then. Why does it do that? I want to know these things.
Well, you must have hit something.
No, I don't. I didn't. It can just be sitting there minding its own business.
I'll tell you what happened
it does it. Another
last
friend
night.
of mine had that same problem. There's one of his contacts that
So
does
what's the
same
solution?
thing. Well, you have to go in and, clear it. But why did it do that to begin with?
Well, here's one for you. I was watching a YouTube video last night, and I started on my phone, and then I went to the computer, and all of a sudden, and I have the captioning on for most of these things, all of a sudden the captioning is in Korean.
You must have hit something.
I must have hit something because
we weren't even touching it. But
I went to the options, and it says it's in Korean. Is this what you want? I'm like, no. So, those things happen, I guess.
Yeah, it's just one of those things in there that they do to drive you nuts.
Hey, let's talk trash. What's going on in the world of trash?
Well, have you seen the new forest?
Which one? Which new forest?
Oh,
there's a bunch of them in town.
Yes,
that is a question. I'll throw this out there on the radio next week after the city council meeting. We'll have the mayor or the mayor pro tem will be on the radio, and I'm going to ask him. I said, what is the city ordinance? How do you enforce your weed ordinance?
Yeah,
because it's bad in so many parts of town.
Supposedly 18 inches tall, and you're going to be fined if you don't get rid of them.
Yeah.
Well, the neighbor across the street, his fence is it's got to be 5-something, 6. It's a metal fence. Well, the weeds are taller than the overhang on the roof now. The whole backyard. Yeah, he rents. Big deal. He's a young person. The front yard, they're not that tall because I think the homeowner or the landlord sends somebody over to whack them down once in a while. But it's a duplex, and there's 2 people that live in there. One on each side. They're both young. They never water, and they certainly don't take care of any weeds. But the ones that I can see that is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Well,
to have weeds that tall. They're everywhere, all over town. You can't see gas meters. You can't see dumpsters.
Yeah.
The gas meter is the real problem. It's like anything else. Do you have to wait until there's a disaster before you say, oh, my gosh, we should have done this? And when they get as tall as 4 or 5 feet, you can't pull them. You can't use a hoe. You literally have to use limb loppers or an axe or a chainsaw because the stobs and the stems on those, whatever, careless weeds is what we used to call them, ragweeds, careless weeds, they're tougher than all get out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're talking about those issues, but you've got people that aren't caring for their alleyways.
Oh, yeah.
But then I'm just talking about driving down regular old, highly traveled, busy city streets in Artesia.
Businesses have got weeds right now. There's some, when you're coming out of McAllister's driveway and you want to get back on First Street, there's a couple of tumbleweeds there that look like beautiful pine trees. Now, I don't know whether they're stripes since they're on that side of the alley. People need to care about their businesses. Which business was it that I went by that has, Pizza Hut. Are they still open?
You wonder because of the weeds, right?
Yeah, it looks like an abandoned building.
Yeah.
That's not what I would want my customers to see and feel, oh, come on in. This is a great place. Everybody cares. Look at how beautiful it is. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I was appalled. I drove by yesterday and I was looking, as I was trying to drive too and not get hit, if there was a sign that said closed or, something, because it looks like it's abandoned.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Well, it is a problem in town, and we've had a lot more rain this year than we've had in prior years.
Yeah, but when you see them coming up, do something then. Go spray if you don't want them.
Yeah.
Don't wait till they're so tall that, you have to call in a backhoe or a front end loader or something to scrape your alley.
Yeah.
That's too late, people.
It does seem odd, and it does seem like at least it appears to be that there's no effort being done. And I don't want to say that nothing's being done, because then I'll be no, we've been working on this, and this. So
Wow.
I don't want to say that, but it does. But some of this is the city's responsibility,
I would
or at
certainly
least the
think
city's
so.
encouragement. But some of this really relies on the individual property owner or business person that's there to, if that's not my job, fine. Find somebody within your organization whose job it is to get that done.
Yeah,
Because it just
don't
looks
pass
terrible.
the buck. Don't
Yeah.
say it's not my problem. It's
Yeah.
not my job. Well, make it and deal with that problem. Don't pass the buck, because down the line, it runs out of
Yeah.
steam and doesn't happen. There's a house on Center that, 1200 block of Center, that is a Century 21, is for sale. I am getting calls from people on that street because obviously they've called the city and no results. And I've called Century 21 2 or 3 weeks ago saying, I'm getting calls from people on the street that really, are really bothered by the condition of the yard, because somehow you would have to be somewhat polite and politically correct when the yard is ridiculous. If I had contracted Century 21 to sell my property, I would expect them to maintain it, not have weeds that are 4 foot high in the front yard and have to fight your way through weeds to be able to show the house. And why would I want to see the house if nobody cares anything about it and doesn't maintain it any better than this? Well, I wouldn't have Century 21 because they don't care about their properties. That's not good advertising for Century 21 either.
It's a fixer-upper, don't you know?
No, the house actually kind of looks fairly decent, in appearances, but the backyard apparently is worse than the front yard. So
Yeah.
and they said, oh, we'll just have somebody out there right away. Well, don't lie to me, because I have to pass the buck on to the people that called me, and say, well, this is what they said. Well, obviously they're not doing it, and don't tell me, well, it's rained and we've got several properties and we're trying to, get to them. No, you're not. It's been long enough. There's plenty of little ads in the newspaper of people that do landscaping and yards and everything else. And that's the same for anybody else that needs help.
I wouldn't know about that.
Well,
because
but anybody that needs help, if you can't get out there and do it, there are ads and people out there that do this. And
I hope there are.
You might be able to hire somebody to come and help you out.
I hope there are. Here's a phrase that was texted here that I've heard before. Maybe you've heard this. Maybe you've tried to impart this upon the youth of America. If it's going to be, it is up to me. The personal responsibility motto.
That's a good one.
If it's going to be, it's up to me. So. Well,
there's several businesses right here in the downtown area that have weeds and grass and junk coming up in their sidewalks. That's real simple. Go out and deal with it when you come to work in the morning, or, come a little bit earlier and look at your establishment as a customer that might come in and, spend money. This is what you want. You don't want to look like you're abandoned and, oh my gosh, you don't take care of your place. I guess the one side's going to look the same, or you obviously are not a caring person and your service may reflect that. That's not what you want. And it's so simple. If you can do it yourself, it doesn't cost anything to go out and deal with those weeds. And don't just spray them and wait for them to die, because they're still there. Get rid of it. Spray the the stop, the stem, the root area, whatever, and that will kill it as well. And at least you don't have to look at the dried up mess for 2 weeks while it's trying to die. But it's
now conversely
pretty bad.
Conversely, there are people who do take great care of their yards.
Well, yes.
And you would like to recognize those people.
And you know what? I've been getting calls. Nancy's been getting calls, and one of the board members that was doing it went on vacation, so she said, well, can you do it while I'm gone? Well, yeah, of course I can, And I had a marvelous conversation the other day with a couple that I had placed. It was Teresa and David Ashley on Hermosa.
Mm-hmm.
They were delighted that somebody recognized their yard and wanted to nominate them, So, yeah, everybody's always... We haven't had anybody that was not very appreciative of the recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are some beautiful yards around here with people that actually care, and when you drive by one, it's like, oh, wow, that looks so great.
Mm-hmm.
But they're consistent with it. I mean, it's a thing with them every year.
Sure.
When you find a neighborhood that's got beautiful yards, not like Christmas decorations, one house here and one house there. It's a neighborhood that everybody
So what happens
does.
when a yard gets picked?
Well, I called them.
Mm-hmm.
I happened to have a phone number, and I actually had a phone book too, and I verified, yes, this, so it was like,
You
okay,
really
I'm going to
are
call.
old school.
I am, and it works quite well. Very well.
You had a phone book.
Yes.
An actual printed... You know how
They
many
put them out
trees
every
died
year.
from that,
I didn't go buy it. They get delivered every year. But anyhow, they were like, oh, wow, So I said, if it's okay, I'll be over in a little bit, and I want to put a sign if you'll accept, to have this sign in your yard. Well, sure, we will, and take a photo. If you always ask, don't say, get out there and let me take your picture. No.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to have a photo? Because I would love to take. If not, I can take pictures of the yard without you in it or anything, We have a little goodie package for them and gift certificate from businesses, and and then you get conversation and you meet new people that you might not know.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful.
So what happens with this photo that is taken?
It gets put in the paper.
In the what?
In the newspaper. You got me the first time.
I don't subscribe. So
well,
what?
That's your loss.
So how about for everybody that doesn't subscribe?
Well,
I mean, do I have to subscribe to the paper to see this wonderful photo? Or is there, do you have like an exclusive contract with the paper to have it in the paper? Is the paper
did you post
paying
the ones
you?
I sent you?
You haven't sent me any.
I did.
No.
I honestly did a couple weeks ago, and you were, well,
no, I've not received
that's
any.
bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
But I didn't know if you had an exclusive contract or if
Quit
they were
being-
paying you money
hey,
to.
it was a Good Friday until of about 2 minutes ago when you started in.
I'm
So-
sorry. So you sent some to me? Because I don't remember
a while
getting
back.
them.
When we talked about this before, so it's been a couple of weeks or more.
Let's see. Okay, the last one I got from you was, what day was this?
I don't know. But anyhow,
June 28th.
well, I'll have to
Have
go
you
back and
have you
look.
picked one since then?
Well, yeah.
Well, I haven't received it.
Okay, well, I'll flood your email with photos. Goodness.
Because I mean, look, that's
Yeah.
fine. It needs to be there, and
Yeah,
folks that
sure.
can read it there. That's fine. But let's help you out too. So we'll do that.
Sure.
'Cause, no, I haven't got one since June 28th.
Well,
so.
shame on me. All right, I'll look and see when the last one I sent you. Okay. But if you would like to nominate somebody,
Yes,
don't call
yes.
Jean, call me.
Yeah, don't call me. I have of no help in that regard.
Apparently. Yes, you can either call our office at 748-3192, or you can call my cell at 513-0143.
Okay,
And I don't have Nancy's number off the top of my head, and I could look it up, but,
that's okay.
it's there somewhere.
And you've got, there's no shortage of nominations. You've got a lot of ones to look at.
I have a
right?
list. So, if you haven't gotten,
This is a year-round thing, right?
well, no, it's going to run at least through September,
Through
because
September.
when the yards start looking,
Yeah, you don't want to.
No, we'll.
You don't want to have
As
the
long
winter
as it's
time.
green and looking pretty around
There you
here,
go.
yeah, we'll do this.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so there's a lot on our list.
Good. good.
Yeah,
And
so-
and then there's a sign. There. And
It looks like a big flower, 2 flowers.
okay. Yeah. This particular picture that you sent me back in June.
Yeah, well, Smarty, keep it up. Keep it up. It's not going to be pretty.
I'm just being a smart aleck.
Yeah, I
Linda.
know.
You know that.
Yes, it happens a lot.
Well, good. Well, we'll look for those, and we'll see if we can help in addition to.
Yeah, well, if you
being
see
in the paper.
somebody, you know, if you see a yard that looks very worthy of being nominated, you need to let
I
me know.
am just so glad that we took the time. We spent a little money with the service this year for the spraying. I am just so glad that in our yard we have green grass in the entire yard this year. So because that's something, as long as we've lived in that house, we have struggled with consistently getting it to where it looks good
Yeah.
throughout the entire yard, and that we weren't the dandelion super spreader of the neighborhood. Because you go back a year or two, we were the dandelion super
Oh,
spreaders.
dear.
Everybody was mad at us because, you know, they'd take care of their lawns,
Yeah.
and then you look over at mine, and I got 500 dandelions, and then, you know, we're sharing it with all of our neighbors. I am not.
Well, when you
the
mow,
dandelion
you
soup-
bag your.
Well, I do that anyway, yeah,
because that
but-
gets rid of a lot of seeds. But
Yeah.
when I moved in my yard, when I moved in my yard, there's a comma in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
Looked horrible. It was nothing but weeds, and
Yeah.
I fought it for a couple of years until I finally found a lawn treatment place, and I had them for 13 years, and then they did something really ticked me off, and I thought,
They're gone.
so I went a year without anybody, and then this year I have a new person, and they took soil samples, which had never been done, to see what exactly my yard needed. My yard has never been this green before.
Yeah.
And yes, they were treating it before it started to rain, so yeah, sure, the rains helped.
Oh, yeah.
But-
Rain's helped everybody.
But
so that's
still,
good.
all the magic dust that he was putting on and fertilizers and
Yeah.
stuff. Oh my goodness sakes! I told him, I said, you know what? It really ticks me off. And he said, what? I said, I could mow every 3 days. I don't want to have to mow every 3 days.
Well, and that's the
You
other
know?
thing, too. And I know some people are, you know, the economic times being what they are, some people are challenged and they don't have the resources to do things. And that's where maybe, you know, then rock it. You know, put the plastic down and rock it. If otherwise it,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
as
Xeriscape it.
Xeriscape it. And then even after you have rocked your
Yeah,
yard, there's
strange
still
things will
some
come
work
up.
that needs to be done to keep
Yeah,
it
because if you have
maintained.
trees around and those leaves get on there, you still have to get the leaves off all
Yeah.
that gravel and whatever else you have. But-
Right. So if you don't want to mow and you don't want to water,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Well, I do.
We
love
are in
my-
the desert, you know.
I do love my green grass.
But
I weed eated last night, edged, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it took me over an hour because I had to do the alley in the front and all the sprinkler, you know, whatever. And
Yeah.
I ran out of daylight. So, you know, tonight I get to mow. So
Now what you need to do,
yay.
you know, what'd be great is what you need to do is you get one of those light towers.
You know,
and then just
I've wished
8 o'clock at
sometimes-
night to 9 o'clock at night, crank up that generator, turn on those lights, flood your yard.
Oh, yeah,
and
the
say, what's
neighbors
Linda
will-
doing now? Well, she's working in the yard.
Yes, but the mosquitoes will also carry you off right now.
Yeah, that's true.
But
That's
yeah, I've
true.
often wished for headlights on my mower. I was like, oh, if I just had, you know, another 30 minutes of, I could finish this mess. you
Yep,
know.
that's right.
But I have to have mine clean. Nobody can say, well, Artesia clean and beautiful. Rah, rah, rah. You
Well,
know,
that's
their yard
true.
looks like
That's true.
crap.
You have a certain reputation that you need to.
But I've always, you know, I've always enjoyed it since I was a
Yeah.
kid. So it's kind of like therapy or
Yeah.
whatever. You know, I may think, oh, God, I don't want to go out and do this. But once you get started, it's like,
Yep.
it's fine. You know, it's fine.
Yeah. I
So-
put the headphones on, put the noise cancellation on, so
Oh,
that it kind of cuts down on
One
the
day,
on the
my
noise.
phone decided it was going to FaceTime a friend of mine in Stockton.
You know, I had that happen to me at the fair.
No, this was while I was mowing. 'Cause
Yeah.
I always have it in my back pocket. Well,
Yeah.
apparently it did this 3 or 4 times. I must have been off that day because they were at work.
Yeah.
And she finally called me later in the day or whatever, and she said, "Are you done mowing?" And I said, "Well, how do you know I'm mowing? Were you are you around here somewhere? She said, no, you FaceTime me. And every time we'd answer, all we could hear is the mower. And her boss just got the biggest kick out of this.
Yeah, well, I was at the Monday before the fair. I was out getting stuff ready to go and working on the trailer. And then the next thing I know, half the staff said, are you trying to call me? And I said, why? Because you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I was doing, but I was calling.
You must have pushed something.
I was calling. Exactly. That's exactly
That's
what
going to
happened.
be the new phrase around
You
here.
must have pushed something.
Yes.
Yeah. Or, well, see, I'm just in the light of Steve Jobs. You remember when they had the iPhone 4? Mm-hmm. And there was the big controversy over the signal quality for the phone calls and everything because of the way they had redone the antennas. And I remember Steve Jobs coming out and saying, well, you're holding the phone wrong.
Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, well.
It certainly wasn't anything he did, right?
My back pocket was, really into calling her, and I don't know how. I hadn't, I never called her on
Yeah.
FaceTime. So how it decided that she needed to be called is beyond me.
Oh, those are
yeah.
things. But it's always
It
your
makes
fault.
a great story. Well,
Just
of course
remember,
it is.
it's always your fault.
Of course it is.
All
It
right.
makes a great story.
I need to take a break, get the Zoom room open up so you can get Aaron in here. Linda,
All
as
right.
always, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we'll talk to you soon.